So recently I learned a bit of a life lesson. Or at least I had an experience that made me appreciate something that I maybe hadn't appreciated to the degree that I should have appreciated it before. And that something is small talk. I used to hate small talk, and I still kinda do. I'm not very good at it. I can do it, especially with people who are good at it, but I tend to not do it. And if I do it, it's only in the contexts where it's absolutely necessary. Like, you know, when I'm at the hairdresser's, that's always a good place for small talk. Or when I talk to my grandma on the phone every week, which, I mean, frankly, that's less small talk and more active listening. Which, by the way, active listening is probably one of the best social skills that you can have as a person. If you haven't specced into that yet, spec into it. It's like witchcraft. You can make people feel better by not talking. But let's get into the experience that I had. So for a little bit of context, and this is gonna get personal, so my therapist recommended to me that instead of seeking validation from my fans, which I already receive, I should go out and contact creators that I admire and tell them that I genuinely admire them. For the context of the context as to why I have a therapist, for like the 5 of you who don't know, it's to treat my cyclical depression. Yes, that has been going quite well. Please do not ask me how I am doing. So I wrote to some of these YouTubers that I consider to be the best on the platform, and it did actually make me feel better, but also some of them responded, which I did not see coming. One of them in particular, of course I will not reveal their identity. We had been in contact in the past, so I wasn't as surprised when they wrote back. But it was pretty cool nonetheless. I told him, you know, I think you're a great YouTuber. I think that the content you produce is phenomenal in quality, and it's really funny, and you are making YouTube a better place. And we got to talking a little bit, and he semi-jokingly said, you know, this is over Twitter DMs, he said, well, you know, the problem with this is if you do this kind of video, people will just start sending you fucked up shit. Because obviously, you know, they do this with the intention to help you and give you more content to make videos about. And seeing an, oh, I can relate to that moment, I said, yeah, my dude, this is also what happens to me. I mean, I do suicide awareness from time to time. People send me some things. So I totally know how you feel, but this is a burden that we take on quite happily. Yes. This is what I actually wrote. And so, having sent that message, I closed Twitter and did whatever the fuck it is that I do when I am not on Twitter. And when I eventually returned, I saw that the YouTuber's response had been, "Ah, man." And at that moment, I realized what I should have known all along, that holy shit, that was massively inappropriate what I said just there. And I shouldn't have gone this far, and it was way too real for the level of conversation that we were on. And it's also a dick move to go, well, you know, whatever you do, I help people not kill themselves. That can easily come off as, see, I mean, you're doing good things, but I'm just better than you. Which is especially true for the medium of text, which, frankly, I have not mastered as much as I have mastered communication in the real world. Here's what happened in that conversation. It got way too real, way too quick, and it was 100% my fault. The other YouTuber was engaging in medium talk, which is not quite small talk, but also not quite real shit. And this is the first time that stupid me even realized that such a gradient existed. When I am at parties, people come to me for, number one, the fucked up jokes, and then they come to me as the amount of alcohol and weed in the room goes from being in the room to being in people's bloodstreams. They come to me for the unnecessarily deep conversations. They don't come to me for small talk. They don't come to me to socialize. And this works well when I'm around friends, because it's easy to just immediately click into the real deep shit. But when you're with strangers, small talk is a great way of socializing with a person without actually having to take on any of their baggage. You could just enjoy human company and contact. Small talk may develop into a relationship where you do exchange baggage, and baggage, by the way, here is also just, my cat is sick, which I don't have a cat, but I imagine people who do have cats say these kinds of things because I imagine cats get sick also. And you know, from that point forward, a relationship may or may not work itself forward into a friendship where you do exchange more baggage or you don't. It's a bit like foreplay, but for friendships, which is not an analogy I am comfortable with, but logically, I cannot deny that it is accurate. And small talk is good at any phase of a relationship, really, because it helps keep people engaged and talking to each other. You may not realize it, but small talk actually builds bonds in the same way that the real conversation does. It's just a little on the lighter side. Yes, a heavy steak is nice, but a light salad on the side is required to balance out the dish. I engage in small talk with my girlfriend every single day. We've been together for 3 years almost, and it's still nice because we can just enjoy each other's company without necessarily always having to cut up the heavy shit. The benefit of such a relationship being that you can just easily sort of layer in the heavy stuff. Especially on the internet, I feel like I'm often very bad at small talk because I just can't read the other person's social cues at all. You just have words written in text. You don't see how they're moving, what their facial expressions are, how their body is standing. You don't even hear their voice or the cadence or the rhythm with which they say a thing. That's just a huge part of the bandwidth of information that you have in a conversation gone. I mean, Jesus Christ, even my girlfriend and I, who converse over text every day, also often misunderstand each other through that medium, even though we know each other very well. And then how are you supposed to intuit this information about a person that you've never even met? And it would have been very easy to just sort of place the blame for this awkward blunder that I made in the conversation on the parasocial nature of our relationship. I mean, they're a big YouTuber. I know they've watched some of my content. I probably know them better than they know me because that's how parasocial relationships work. I mean, a lot of you have a parasocial relationship with me. I don't know that you exist, but you know a lot of things about me because you watch my content. And I have the same thing with a lot of different people. But I think that would be an excuse that gives me way too much credit on my social skills. I mean, I do have good social skills in the real world. Online, not so much. And frankly, I think this is true for a lot of people. I don't know how to come off in the way that I want to come off based on words alone. I'm always afraid that people will misunderstand me, even if I'm in a voice chat type situation. I used to be, before I started live streaming, extremely awkward and completely incapable of talking to people online simply because of the thing. You know how when you talk in an online chat room and you always talk over each other because you can't look at the other people and understand the subtle social cues that let you know that this person is about to talk? Because you do this intuitively, obviously, but there you just do not have available that information. But I think even in the real world, I could do with engaging a bit more in small talk and not just overwhelm people with real conversation, because I think that the only kind of conversation that is worth being had is real conversation. Because that's just not true. Thank you very much for watching this probably quite short video. I promise there's going to be a longer thing at the end of the week, and there will be a super special live stream probably on Wednesday night that I will not reveal too much about, but let's just say that a channel classic is returning in a new light. Also, big YouTuber that is the subject of this story. You're probably not going to watch this video, but if you do, I apologize. That was uncalled for on my part. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the things you would do with video. Consider supporting me on Patreon. Follow me on Twitter, so maybe I will send you a weird DM. In that spirit, consider getting good at small talk. I mean, if you have the choice between small talk and active listening, obviously choose active listening because it's a super useful skill. You're going to make a lot of people's day. You're going to make you just a better person in general. But small talk is not as non-valuable. I was going to say invaluable. There's actually more valuable than valuable. Not as non-valuable as many of people of our kind seem to believe. And see you around, cunts.